Hey there. Yeah, you, just for a few moments, let's just take a breath together, okay? A deep one, right down into your belly. In through the nose, hold it, and out through the mouth, like letting go of something you've been carrying. Again, in through the nose, feeling your chest expand, your shoulders maybe even soften just a little, hold it, and out through the mouth. Just a soft sigh. One more time, the deepest one yet. In through the nose, imagining peace or calm, or just nothing in particular flooding in, hold it for a moment, and exhale everything that feels heavy, everything that's buzzing in your mind right now. Just let it float away. Okay, how does that feel? Even a little bit different. We're not here to suddenly fix everything, all right. Life is weird. It's messy, it's confusing, it's beautiful, it's painful, it's hilarious, it's utterly baffling. It's all of it, often at once, and you're just trying to navigate it, right? Just trying to figure things out. Who isn't? Think about it. Since you were born, you've been dropped into this incredibly complex system with very few instructions. You get some basics from parents or guardians. School gives you some facts and skills. Society tells you how things should be, and the rest. The rest is just wading through, making guesses, falling down, getting back up, hopefully learning something along the way. And sometimes you just hit a wall, don't you? You feel lost. You feel overwhelmed. You feel like everyone else has a secret map or a superpower you missed out on. You compare yourself endlessly to curated versions of reality that other people put out there. Their highlight reels become your measuring stick for your messy, complicated blooper reel. And it leaves you feeling less than, deflated, anxious, like you're failing at the simple act of being you. Maybe you look in the mirror, physically or metaphorically, and you're not sure who's even looking back. You wonder about your identity. Am I the person my friends see? Am I the person my family expects? Am I the person I think I should be? Or am I someone completely different hiding underneath it all? That question of who am I is not just for philosophers in dusty rooms. It's a lived question, isn't it? It surfaces when you have to make a tough choice, when you're alone with your thoughts, when you're standing at a crossroads and don't know which path to take. Identity isn't some fixed statue you're born with. It's more like a river. It's always flowing, always changing. What you liked 5 years ago, 5 months ago, maybe even 5 minutes ago might be different now. Your experiences shape you. The people you meet shape you. The things you learn, the mistakes you make, the successes you celebrate, they all carve new pathways in that river. And that's okay. That's not inconsistency, that's life. That's growth. Trying to rigidly define yourself can sometimes feel suffocating, like building a dam to stop the flow. Maybe the goal isn't to define exactly who you are right now, but to understand how you are, how you interact with the world, and to gently guide the river in directions that feel more authentic, more life-giving, more you. And navigating that changing self often happens in a world that is itself constantly shifting. Uncertainty isn't an occasional visitor. It's the background music of our lives, isn't it? Will I get that job? Will this relationship last? What happens after graduation? What about climate change, politics, the future itself? There are so many variables, so many things outside our direct control. And our brains, bless them, they crave certainty. They like knowing what's coming next. So when they don't know, they invent possibilities, and often those possibilities lean towards the negative. They spin disaster scenarios, conjure up worst-case outcomes, just in case. It's a primitive survival mechanism, a better safe than sorry approach run wild. But in our modern world, it can lead to constant, low-level anxiety, a hum of worry that's always present. Dealing with uncertainty isn't about predicting the future, because we can't. It's about building your capacity to tolerate not knowing. It's about learning to live with maybe. One philosophical perspective that touches on this, ancient as it is Stoicism. Not stoicism like suppressing emotions, which is a common misconception. True stoicism, from people like Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, is much more about understanding the fundamental boundary between what you can control and what you cannot. You can control your judgments, your intentions, your reactions, your efforts. You cannot control external events, other people's opinions, the outcome of most situations, the past, the future weather. The Stoics suggest focusing intensely, perhaps only, on what's within your sphere of influence. If you're worried about an exam, you can control how much you study, how you organize your notes, the effort you put in, and how you approach the test on the day. You cannot control the specific questions asked, the difficulty level determined by the teacher, the grades other students get, or how the teacher feels when marking it. Pouring all your mental energy into worrying about those uncontrollable factors is wasted effort. It's like trying to steer a ship by shouting at the waves. You get exhausted and accomplish nothing. The Stoic approach is to focus fiercely on steering the ship, using the rudder and sails you do possess, your own actions and attitudes. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but consistently applying it requires immense practice. When a worry pops up, you can pause and ask yourself, is this something I can do something about right now? If yes, what is that action? Take it. If no, can I influence my reaction to it? Can I choose not to dwell on it? Can I redirect my focus? It's about actively, deliberately shifting your attention away from the whirlpool of the uncontrollable towards the solid ground of what you can influence. It doesn't eliminate challenges, but it gives you back your power in facing them. And speaking of power, there's immense power in understanding your emotions. Sometimes it feels like our emotions are just these wild, unpredictable forces that sweep us away. One minute you're fine, the next you're swamped by sadness or rage or anxiety or crippling fear. And then you might judge yourself for feeling that way. I shouldn't feel this, I'm weak. Emotions aren't good or bad, they just are. They're signals, they're information. Think of anger like a flashing red light saying a boundary has been crossed or something you value is threatened. Fear is a signal about potential danger. Sadness might be about loss or disconnection. Joy is about connection, fulfillment, pleasure. The problem isn't having emotions. It's often not knowing how to process them or how to respond to them constructively. Suppressing emotions, pushing them down, often backfires. They don't disappear. They just fester and can manifest in physical symptoms or unexpected emotional outbursts later. Learning to sit with your emotions, to feel them without immediate judgment or reaction, is a profoundly valuable skill. This is where mindfulness comes in a very practical sense. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind, that's a myth. It's about paying attention on purpose without judgment. So when a wave of sadness hits, instead of immediately distracting yourself or getting swept away in the story about why you're sad, you can try just noticing the physical sensations of that sadness. Where do you feel it in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat, a heavy feeling? What are the thoughts accompanying it? And can you see them as just thoughts, like clouds passing by, rather than absolute truths? It's not about liking the feeling. It's about acknowledging its presence and creating a little bit of space between you and the emotion, so you're not entirely consumed by it. This process, often called mindful awareness of emotions, allows the intensity to eventually lessen. Emotions are like waves. They rise, they crest, and they fall. If you fight the wave, you get tumbled. If you try to stop it, impossible. But if you can learn to simply witness it, to ride it out, its energy dissipates naturally. This takes practice, especially with intense emotions. But it builds resilience. Resilience. There's another word that gets thrown around a lot. It's not about being tough and never feeling pain. It's about your capacity to bounce back from difficulty. Think of those inflatable punching bags. You hit them, they go down, and they pop right back up. Resilience is like that. It's about recovering, adapting, and continuing forward after setbacks, after failure, after loss. How do you build that kind of bounce? Part of it comes from experience. You survive things, you realize you can survive things, but you can also actively cultivate it. It involves that understanding of control we talked about, focusing your energy effectively. It involves connection with others. Having support systems is crucial. It involves maintaining a sense of perspective. One setback isn't the end of the world, even if it feels like it in the moment. And it involves self-compassion. Self-compassion. Oh, this is a big one, and probably one of the hardest for many of us. We are often so much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend. If your friend failed an exam, lost their job, or made a mistake, you'd offer comfort, understanding, and encouragement, right? It's okay, you tried your best. This doesn't define you. You'll figure it out. But when you mess up, what does the voice in your head say? Often something like, "You idiot, how could you be so stupid? You're never going to succeed. This proves you're worthless." That inner critic can be relentless, loud, and utterly unhelpful. Self-compassion, as taught by researchers like Dr. Kristen Neff, has three main components: kindness towards yourself, especially in moments of suffering or perceived failure. Recognizing that suffering and imperfection are part of the common human experience. You are not alone in struggling. And mindfulness, observing your difficult thoughts and feelings without getting consumed by them. As we just discussed, it's actively choosing to treat yourself with the same warmth, patience, and understanding you would offer a beloved friend who is having a hard time. It's not about self-pity or making excuses. It's about acknowledging your pain, acknowledging your humanness, and responding with care rather than harsh judgment. This is foundational for building resilience. It's hard to bounce back if you're constantly beating yourself up while you're down. And while we're talking about getting back up, let's talk about the dreaded F word, failure. We live in cultures that often idolize success and demonize failure. We see people who made it, and rarely the thousands of attempts and missteps and rejections and failures that got them there. This creates an immense pressure to succeed immediately, or even worse, a crippling fear that stops us from trying at all. We become so afraid of failing that we don't even take the first step towards something we might actually want to do. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's often a stepping stone towards it. It's feedback. It's information. When something doesn't work out, you learn something valuable, provided you allow yourself to see the lesson. You learn what didn't work. You learn something about your approach, your assumptions, the external factors. You gain clarity on what you don't want, which is just as important as knowing what you do want. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work when inventing the light bulb." That's a growth mindset in action. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, assumes your abilities, your intelligence, your talents are fixed traits. If you fail, It means you're not smart enough, not talented enough. End of story. A growth mindset, however, sees these things as capabilities that can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. Failure isn't proof of inadequacy. It's a temporary setback that offers an opportunity to learn and improve. If you approach challenges with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace difficulty, persist in the face of obstacles, see effort as a path to mastery, learn from criticism, and find inspiration in the success of others. This fundamentally changes your relationship with both challenges and failures. Speaking of effort and mastery, sometimes we get caught up in big, daunting goals. We want to change everything about ourselves or our lives right now, and that feeling of overwhelm can shut us down completely. This is where the power of small habits comes in. James Clear, in his book, Atomic Habits, talks about the idea of improving by just 1% every day. It sounds tiny, insignificant. But 1% improvement compounded over a year is 37 times better. It's not the big, revolutionary change that often sticks. It's the small, consistent action taken day after day. Building small habits is about making change easy and appealing. If you want to read more, start by reading 1 page a day. 1 page. Anyone can do that. Once that feels easy, make it 2. Then maybe 10. If you want to exercise, start with 5 minutes of stretching. If you want to meditate, try 1 minute of focusing on your breath. The key is to make the start so easy you can't say no. And then, critically, focusing on building the habit itself rather than the outcome initially. The goal isn't to become a marathon runner overnight. The goal is to become the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts. The identity change follows the small, consistent actions. You start to see yourself as a reader, a meditator, an exerciser, because you take those small actions consistently. These tiny shifts in identity are incredibly powerful drivers of long-term change. And what motivates these small habits? Often, it's having some sense of direction, a vague idea of what matters to you. This leads us back to finding meaning and purpose. Another big philosophical question that can feel intimidating. Like, who am I? What's the meaning of life? Can feel overwhelming. Maybe the answer isn't some grand, universal truth waiting to be discovered. Maybe, as existentialist philosophy suggests, particularly people like Jean-Paul Sartre or Albert Camus, there isn't inherent, universal meaning in life. Rather, we are condemned to create our own meaning. This can sound bleak, condemned to create, but it's actually incredibly empowering. It means your life's meaning isn't dictated by someone else, or fate, or tradition, unless you choose for it to be. It's shaped by your choices, your values, your actions, the projects you commit to, the relationships you nurture. Meaning can be found in a fulfilling job, in raising a family, in creating art, in serving your community, in pursuing knowledge, in simply appreciating the small wonders of the world. It's not a single destination. It's an ongoing process of engagement with the world and figuring out what feels significant and worthwhile to you. It requires introspection, certainly asking yourself, what truly matters to me? But more importantly, it requires action. You don't find meaning by thinking about it. You build it by living it, by dedicating your time and energy to things you deem valuable. One of the simplest ways to connect with what matters is through gratitude. Actively practicing gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing or wrong to what you have. Even on tough days, there is often something to be grateful for: a warm bed, a simple meal, A kind word from a stranger, the beauty of a sunset, the fact that you're breathing and capable of experiencing the world. Keeping a gratitude journal, even writing down just 3 things each day, or simply taking a moment to pause and feel thankful for something can genuinely rewire your brain over time, making you more attuned to the positive aspects of life. It doesn't mean ignoring the hard stuff, but it helps to balance your perspective. Perspective is another powerful tool. How you view a situation changes everything. Is a challenge a catastrophic problem or an opportunity to learn? Is a disagreement a personal attack or a chance to understand another viewpoint? Reframing your thoughts can be transformative. It's not about putting on rose-tinted glasses and pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously choosing a more helpful, less debilitating way to interpret your experiences. Sometimes our perspective is warped by comparison, isn't it? Especially with social media constantly showing us everyone else's highlight reels, their perfect vacations, perfect relationships, perfect bodies, perfect careers. And we look at our own lives, which are lived in full color, including all the behind-the-scenes messy bits, and feel inadequate. Social media comparison is a direct route to unhappiness. It's comparing your authentic self to someone else's curated performance. It's an unfair, unwinnable game. Recognizing that everyone, absolutely everyone, is struggling with something, even if they don't post about it, can help. Focusing on your own journey, your own progress against your own past self, is a much more constructive path. Celebrate your small wins. Focus on what you value and work towards that, rather than chasing external validation based on someone else's perceived success. In moments of struggle, it can feel like we are uniquely cursed or isolated. But remembering the common human experience aspect of self-compassion is crucial. Everyone experiences pain, loss, disappointment, fear, confusion. This isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're human. There is a strange comfort in knowing you're part of the collective struggle, and this realization can foster empathy for others and for yourself. Empathy isn't just about feeling for someone. It's about trying to understand the world from their perspective, to step into their shoes. Extending that same curiosity and understanding to yourself is equally vital. Why am I feeling this way? What unmet need is driving this behavior? What past experience is influencing my current reaction? Approaching yourself with curiosity instead of judgment can unlock deeper understanding and pave the way for change. And speaking of understanding, sometimes we need to simplify. Our lives can become incredibly complicated with endless tasks, commitments, information overload. Learning to simplify, to let go of things that no longer serve you, whether it's physical clutter, draining relationships, or commitments that don't align with your values, can free up immense energy and mental space. This resonates with some ideas in Taoism, like the concept of Wu Wei, which is often translated as non-action. But it's more accurately about effortless action or action without striving. It's about living in harmony with the natural flow of things, not forcing issues, not swimming against the current unnecessarily. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is not do something, to pause, to observe, to allow things to unfold, to recognize when you're trying to control the uncontrollable. It's a wisdom in knowing when to push and when to yield. Cultivating stillness and presence is another way to simplify and connect with the here and now. Our minds spend so much time rehashing the past or rehearsing the future. While some reflection and planning are necessary, Constantly living in the past or future means we miss the present moment, which is, ultimately, the only moment we ever actually have. Meditation, even for just a few minutes a day, can help train your attention muscle to focus on the present. It's not about stopping thoughts. That's impossible. It's about noticing your thoughts without getting carried away by them, gently bringing your attention back to your breath, your body, your immediate surroundings, whenever your mind wanders. This practice increases self-awareness, reduces reactivity, and can create a sense of calm amidst the chaos. And curiosity. Curiosity is an undervalued engine of self-improvement, maintaining a sense of wonder about the world, about yourself, about how things work, keeps you engaged and open to learning. What if, instead of dreading a challenge, you approached it with curiosity? I wonder what I can learn from this. I'm curious to see how I'll handle this. This shift in perspective from fear or dread to curiosity makes difficult things feel less daunting and more like interesting problems to solve. It fuels lifelong learning, not just academic learning, but learning about yourself, about others, about the nuances of being alive. We often feel pressured to have all the answers, don't we? Especially as we get older, there's this expectation that you should have life figured out. But maybe the wisest stance is to embrace the fact that you don't have it all figured out, to remain a perpetual student of life, to be open to changing your mind when presented with new information or perspectives, to approach interactions with humility, assuming you have something to learn from everyone you meet. This open-mindedness is incredibly freeing and allows for continuous growth. And growth isn't always comfortable. It often involves discomfort, leaving your comfort zone, trying new things that you might be bad at initially, having difficult conversations, admitting you were wrong, sitting with uncomfortable emotions. Our brains are wired to seek comfort and avoid pain, so pushing through that discomfort for the sake of growth is an act of conscious will. It requires courage. What is courage? It's not the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and acting anyway. It's moving forward despite your doubts, despite the possibility of failure or embarrassment. Every time you try something new, speak up when it's hard, face a fear, you build that courage muscle. And just like any muscle, the more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. One specific fear many people struggle with is the fear of judgment. What will other people think? Will they laugh at me? Will they criticize me? This fear can paralyze us, stopping us from pursuing creative projects, expressing our true thoughts, or making unconventional choices. It's tied to our innate need for social acceptance, which was crucial for survival in tribal times. But in modern life, while feedback can be helpful, basing your life choices solely on the potential judgment of others is a recipe for living a life that isn't authentically yours. Most people are far less concerned with what you're doing than you think they are. They are usually preoccupied with their own fears, their own lives, their own potential for being judged. And those who are quick to judge others often do so from a place of their own insecurity or limited perspective. Learning to discern valuable feedback from unhelpful criticism is key in cultivating an inner knowing. A stronger connection to your own values and intuition makes you less susceptible to being swayed by external opinions. When you know who you are and what you stand for, remember that flowing river of identity and the meaning you create. The opinions of others lose some of their power. This also ties into imposter syndrome, that pervasive feeling that you're not really qualified, that you're faking it, and that sooner or later you're going to be found out. It strikes many people regardless of their actual accomplishments. It's often accompanied by thoughts like, I just got lucky, or they made a mistake letting me in, or everyone else knows more than I do. Imposter syndrome feeds on perfectionism. If you believe you have to be perfect to be legitimate, any mistake becomes proof that you're an imposter. Again, recognizing that most people, even highly successful ones, experience some degree of self-doubt is part of the common human experience. Acknowledging the feeling, okay, I'm feeling that imposter anxiety right now, rather than letting it define you, I am an imposter, can help. Focusing on the work itself, the contribution you are making, and accepting that you don't have to be perfect to be valuable are steps towards managing it. Every single person is learning, growing, and figuring things out as they go. There is no one who has it all figured out perfectly. Zero. Zilch. Nada. So feeling like you're figuring it out, that just makes you normal. What about when figuring things out feels overwhelming and you just don't? Procrastination is another common struggle. We put off important tasks, especially those that are difficult, boring, or intimidating, in favor of things that offer immediate gratification, like scrolling social media or watching TV. Why do we do this? It's not usually laziness. It's often about managing negative emotions. The thought of starting that difficult assignment brings up feelings of anxiety or inadequacy, so we avoid it to avoid those feelings. Procrastination is an emotional regulation problem, not a time management problem at its core. Breaking down large tasks into smaller, manageable steps helps. Finishing a small step feels less intimidating than facing the whole mountain. Focusing on starting the task, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, can be the hardest part. Once you start, it's often easier to continue. This relates back to those small habits. Reward yourself for completing steps, even small ones, to create positive associations with the task. And critically, practice self-compassion when you do procrastinate. Berating yourself only adds more negative emotion to the mix, making you more likely to avoid the task again in the future. Acknowledging the procrastination, forgiving yourself, and gently redirecting back to the task is more effective. Okay, I got distracted for an hour. That happens. Now, what's the very next, smallest step I can take on this? Think of philosophy and self-improvement as tools, not mandates, not rigid rules you have to follow perfectly. They're lenses to look through, different frameworks to understand the human condition and your place in it. You don't have to subscribe entirely to Stoicism, or existentialism, or Buddhism, or any other specific school of thought. You can borrow pieces, ideas, practices that resonate with you, and that help you navigate your own unique journey. The wisdom is often found in the overlap and synthesis of these different perspectives. From Stoicism, maybe you take the focus on what you can control. From existentialism, the idea of creating your own meaning. From Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness and the understanding of impermanence. From Taoism, the value of going with the flow sometimes. From positive psychology, the power of gratitude and strengths. You are building your own operating system for being human, and part of that operating system involves your relationships with others. Humans are fundamentally social creatures. Connection is a core need, but navigating relationships with friends, family, romantic partners, colleagues can be incredibly challenging. It requires communication skills, boundaries, empathy, conflict resolution, and the willingness to be vulnerable. Vulnerability, the willingness to show up and be seen, even when you can't control the outcome, is scary. but it's also the birthplace of connection, belonging, and love, as Brené Brown's work highlights. True connection happens not through presenting a perfect, polished facade, but through sharing your authentic, messy, imperfect self and allowing others to do the same. It's hard because it opens you up to the possibility of hurt or rejection. But without that openness, relationships remain superficial. Boundaries are also essential. Healthy boundaries aren't about walling yourself off from others. They're about defining what is okay and what isn't okay in how others treat you, and about managing your own energy and commitments. It's about respecting yourself enough to communicate your needs and limits. This is often difficult, especially if you're used to people-pleasing or fear conflict. But establishing clear, kind boundaries is an act of self-respect that ultimately improves your relationships by making them healthier and more sustainable. All of this understanding identity, dealing with uncertainty, managing emotions, building resilience, facing failure, forming habits, creating meaning, practicing gratitude, shifting perspective, embracing self-compassion, simplifying, being present, staying curious, building relationships, setting boundaries, overcoming procrastination, navigating judgment, dealing with imposter feelings. It's a lot, isn't it? It's the messy, ongoing work of being a person. And it's important to remember that it is ongoing. There is no finish line where you suddenly become a perfectly enlightened, never struggling human being. Life will continue to throw curveballs. You will still have bad days, weeks, maybe even months. You will still make mistakes. You will still feel confused or lost sometimes. This is normal. This is part of the deal. The difference isn't becoming someone who never falls. It's becoming someone who knows how to get back up, who is kinder to themselves when they're down, who has a few tools in their belt to navigate the difficulty. So, where do you even start with all of this? It doesn't have to be a massive overhaul. Pick one thing, just one small thing that resonated with you from what we've talked about. Maybe it's paying a little more attention to your emotions without judgment. Maybe it's trying to focus on one thing you can control today. Maybe it's noticing 3 things you're grateful for before you go to sleep. Maybe it's just trying 1 minute of sitting still and focusing on your breath. Start small, make it ridiculously easy to do, and just try it today, and then try it tomorrow. Don't wait until you feel perfectly ready or perfectly motivated, or until you have massive blocks of uninterrupted time. Those perfect conditions rarely arrive. Just take the tiniest possible step now, wherever you are. Reading 1 page, 5 minutes of mindful breathing, thinking of one tiny thing you're grateful for, breaking down the scary task into just 1 sentence or 1 click. That small action creates a ripple. It tells your brain you're trying. It builds momentum. And be patient with yourself. True change, deep change, happens gradually, sometimes so slowly you don't even notice it day to day. But if you look back weeks, months, or years from now, you'll see the shifts, the growth, the resilience you've built. There will be plateaus, times when you feel stuck, times when you slip back into old patterns. That's okay. It's not a sign of failure. It's just part of the learning process. Recognize it, acknowledge it without harsh judgment, and gently course correct. Compassionately guide yourself back towards the path you want to be on. Remember that concept of the river of identity. Your past is the water that has already flowed under the bridge. You can't change it, but you can learn from where it has been and how it has shaped the current. Your future is the vast, unknown ocean it flows towards. You can't control everything that happens on that journey, but you can steer the river using your choices, your values, your consistent, small actions. your intentional focus, and the meaning you choose to create moment by moment. And the present moment is the stretch of the river you are in right now. It's where the flow is actually happening. It's the only place you can feel the current, where you can navigate, where you can make a conscious choice to steer. So practice coming back to the present, back to the breath, back to what is happening right here, right now. That's where your power lies. Maybe another helpful perspective, coming from something like Buddhist philosophy, is the idea of impermanence. Everything changes. The good times, the bad times, they are all temporary. Understanding this can make you appreciate joy more deeply when it's present and navigate suffering with a bit more acceptance, knowing it won't last forever. When you're in a difficult phase, remembering this too shall pass isn't a platitude. It's a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. Change is constant. Trying to hold on to things that are meant to change or resist change that is inevitable causes suffering. Learning to accept the flow of impermanence, to hold on to things and people you love a little more lightly, while appreciating them fully in the present moment, is a powerful path towards peace. It's also worth considering what true pleasure means to you. Is it constant excitement and stimulation, as some misconceptions of hedonism might suggest? Or is it found in simpler things? Often the deepest and most sustainable sources of well-being come not from external thrills, but from inner states and simple experiences. Connection with loved ones, meaningful work, contributing to something larger than yourself, spending time in nature, learning, moments of quiet reflection, appreciation of beauty, physical health, focusing on cultivating these sources of well-being, rather than chasing fleeting external pleasures, contributes to a more fulfilling and resilient life. What are your simple pleasures? Can you make more time for them? This whole process we've been talking about, this journey of trying to figure things out, it's deeply personal. There's no one-size-fits-all manual. Your path will be unique. What works for someone else might not work for you, and vice versa. Experiment. Try different tools, different perspectives, different habits. See what resonates. See what helps you feel more centered, more alive, more like you are living a life that is genuinely yours. Discard what doesn't serve you. You are the expert on your own experience. Trust that, even when it feels messy. And if things feel overwhelmingly difficult, please remember you don't have to figure it all out alone. Reaching out for support from friends, family, mentors, teachers, counselors, therapists is a sign of strength, not weakness. Sometimes another perspective, a listening ear or professional guidance, is exactly what's needed to help you see a way forward or to navigate a particularly rough patch. We are built for connection, and supporting each other through challenges is part of the human experience too. So, yeah, life is weird and wonderful and hard and funny and sad, and you're navigating it. You're learning, you're growing, even when it doesn't feel like it. Every time you pause and take a conscious breath, every time you choose curiosity over judgment, every time you pick yourself up after a stumble, every time you offer yourself a little bit of kindness, you are actively participating in the profound, strange, beautiful journey of being human. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about being real. It's about figuring things out, one breath, one step, one weird day at a time. And that's more than enough. That is the journey. You are already on it. Keep going. Just keep going, okay? Just take one more breath with me now. In and out. You're doing better than you think. You really are, just by showing up, by listening, by trying. Thank you for being here, for navigating the weirdness alongside me. Wishing you gentleness on your journey, wishing you curiosity, wishing you peace. Just keep going.